Sunday, everybody. I'm glad that you could be here with me today. We're going to have a little bit of fun. Hopefully, everybody can see me and hear me, and we're going to make some Christmas treats today. It doesn't seem to matter where you go at Christmas time, there is always, let's just move this over here, there's always platters and platters of Christmas treats, and now you'll be able to take something to those Christmas events that you can indulge on a little bit as well. Now these we're going to put in the freezer to really firm them up, but you don't have to. I'm going to, because I'm going to make them in a chocolate mold so that they're pretty when they come out of the freezer, but you can eat them however you choose to. Okay, so let's get started on this. These are gingerbread cookie fat bombs. So the very first thing that we are going to add, I guess it's more like a gingerbread cookie cheesecake fat bomb. So the first thing we're going to add is 4 ounces, 112 grams of cream cheese. Now really watch, if you go looking for recipes for fat bombs online, a couple of things about fat bombs. First of all, they do not need to be an everyday part of your keto routine. Fat bombs should be a treat. Secondly, watch the ingredients. You will find all kinds of things out there that call for maple syrup or molasses or honey or whatever it is. You don't want to be using stuff like that. It is not keto, and it's definitely not going to help you. Okay, so we've got 112 grams of cream cheese. And we're going to need one of those. We also have 112 grams of butter. Now, if you can get grass-fed butter, that's great. If you can't, that is just fine too. If you are joining me today, whether it's live or not live, say hi. Let me know that you're here. Okay. Now this needs to be mushed together, and this is definitely not going to be strong enough to mush it together, so we're just going to set this here for a minute. This needs to be really well mixed, and I may have to put it back in the microwave for a minute or two. You don't want it melted, so you really have to watch and make sure that this is going to incorporate. Now see, this is what happens when I am just racing around in the morning trying to get ready and don't get stuff in the microwave to get soft soon enough. Now when you put butter or cream cheese in the microwave, put it in on defrost. When you put it in on full power, you're far more likely to melt it, and we don't want it melted. Okay, so we're just going to keep mashing this and mashing this and mashing this, and as you do, you'll be able to see the difference in color. Now, something that I found, for any of you that come and hang, hi Del, for any of you that come and hang out here with me, you'll know that I'm a little bit of a butter snob, and in Canada, not all butter is created equal. And I have found a new kind of butter at Costco. And it is lovely, and I honestly do not remember the name of it right now. But if you go to Costco, in Canada at least, in Alberta, they have a brand of butter there that it comes from Quebec. Not really sure why we don't have enough cows in Canada or in Alberta, but whatever. And it tastes very much like Lucerne butter, and it is wonderful. So this is going to take a little bit of elbow grease to get this all incorporated. You can use a mixer if you like. Now this is a fairly small batch, and there are 2 reasons that I'm making this a small batch. First of all, I know that being gingerbread, chances are I'm going to be the only one that eats it, because Del isn't a real fan of a lot of the Christmas spices. So that being said, I don't want there to be pounds and pounds of it here that I'm going to be tempted to eat. And the other thing is you need to think about how big your molds are that you're putting it in. So this one has 15 small cavities. Really pay attention. That's about a teaspoon. Pay attention to how big your cavities are and weigh it out. Set it on your scale and weigh it, because we're going to be adding almond flour to this. And almond flour does have some carbs in it. So does cream cheese, a little bit. But the almond flour has a little bit more. And coconut flour, if you choose to use that instead, has even more. Now this is a good workout for your arms. And we are almost there. You can see, well, I can see, you may not be able to see, but there are every now and again I see a little streak of white cream cheese, but this is pretty well incorporated. So to this, we're going to add, 2 teaspoons, which is, good morning, Mom, 4 or 5 grams of TSL Organics gingerbread spice. Now, if you are not a fan of gingerbread, that's just fine. You can add cinnamon, or you can add cloves, or whatever variation you want to add. Add your Christmas spices, your very favorite ones. Now we are also going to add, and I should have mixed this together beforehand, but I didn't. This is half a cup, or 45 grams of almond flour. You want to keep any kind of nut flour to a minimum, because that's where you're going to get your carbs. There isn't a whole lot of sense in making fat bombs to give yourself that extra fat so that you're not overindulging on carbs if you fill it full of carbs. So you want to make sure. Now this, oh my goodness, this is 45 grams of, or 36 grams of powdered erythritol. Now this I am sifting, because powdered erythritol always has lumps in it, and the lumps do not come out as you mix it. So you definitely want to do that beforehand so that you don't have, mind you, if you're going to have a lump of something sweet is not the worst choice in the world. It would taste lovely, but it wouldn't look so lovely. Okay, so there we go. Now, this is just this easy. We're going to mix this and mix it and mix it and mix it until it is fully incorporated. Now, this is not something that you have to bake. This is something that you are just going to thoroughly mix and throw into a mold, or you might want to just make little balls of it. Throw it in the fridge, throw it in the freezer. You can put it wherever you like. And this is going to have a wonderful Christmassy flavor. Now, do a taste test. Every good cook does a taste test. And make sure that you've got the spice in it strong enough. If you don't, you can do another recipe, another batch without the spice in it. So adjust it the way you want it. How strong do you like the spices in your fat bombs? And keep in mind, if you're taking it to an occasion, some kind of an event where other people are going to be eating it, you might want to keep them in mind. I don't know, maybe you don't want to keep them in mind. And you can definitely use a mixer. I'm trying to be nice this morning and not make a whole bunch of noise. So if you're hanging out here, and I see that Kay and Dell are both hanging out here, and if you're here first time, second time, 100th time, say hi in the comments. I love hearing that people are hanging out here. And pretty soon, this is going to be ready to do a taste test. Now, I don't know how well you can see, but there are some streaks in here that are, here, let me show you. Right in here you can see that there's a white streak. So that's what we want to avoid. They're pretty, makes it look very marbly, but that's where, and there's another spot where you can see here that we have some raw spice in there. This is what we want to avoid, and this is why we mix it. And you can absolutely use a hand mixer. Don't use your immersion blender. It's not going to work, I promise. This is way too thick. And just keep going and going and going. And then tell yourself that you did your arm workout well. For me, it's just my right arm, I guess. Okay, now I want to tell you, if you live in Alberta, I had a very special adventure on Friday, and I wasn't terribly excited about where we were going. I was terribly excited about who I was going to be with, because I went on this adventure with my husband and my mom and my uncle and my cousin. And where we went was to the Reynolds Museum, which is not far from where we live in Alberta. It's in Wetaskiwin, Alberta. If you have never been to the Reynolds Museum and you live in or you're passing through Alberta, I highly recommend that you go. I found out things about the farming culture in Alberta that I never ever knew before, and it was awesome to spend the day hanging out with my husband and my mom and my cousin and my uncle. And my uncle was a farmer for many years, so some of the questions that we had, he was able to answer. Some of them, my husband, my mom, my cousin were able to answer. I'm a city mouse, so what I know about farming is that's where we get our food from, and my knowledge about farming is pretty limited other than that. At any rate, it was really interesting. One of the things that I found out that I did not know before is that we used to have steam-powered tractors, and that we had some amazingly brilliant inventors in Alberta who invented some really cool stuff to help the farming industry become even more current. And when I say current, those inventions were in the 1940s, I suppose. Okay, so I'm just taking the last little bit of butter off of this because I don't want to have a big lump of butter in my mold when I put it in there. So take the last bit off there. I'm going to give this one more mix. There we go. Now, because I am nothing if not efficient, I'm going to taste my fat bomb. That is lovely. It's just a hint of gingerbread in there. Now, if you want a really forward gingerbread flavor, you can definitely add more. But this is just lovely. It's just a wee little bit of the gingerbread spice. Yeah, that is really nice. Now, the other thing, this could have, so I have 36 grams of Swerve powdered sweetener in, well, it's not Swerve, but it is powdered erythritol in here. You can add more than that. The basic recipe for this, just the basics, is 112 grams of butter, 112 grams of cream cheese, but then the ginger, and 45 grams of almond flour. After that, the powdered erythritol and the gingerbread spice, that's all you. So how strong do you want it? How sweet do you want it? It's entirely up to you. Now, one thing that I will caution you, if you make it too sweet, you may set off those sugar cravings. So if what you're trying to do is give yourself a little bit of a treat that you can take to some kind of a family event, then this is a great way to do it. And we're just going to set this on here and zero the scale. I want to make sure that these are even. So when you add, pardon me, when you add almond flour, so we have in this entire recipe approximately, pardon me, Coffee always tastes better when somebody else makes it for you, I think. There's about 6 grams of carbs from the almond flour and about 3 or 4 grams from the cream cheese. So 10 or 12 grams in total. Now, if we divided this into 12 equal portions, each fat bomb would have 1 gram of carbs. And you need to be watching that. You need to keep track of that. So I'm going to make much more than that. And we're just going to push it down. You don't, because I'm going to freeze these, I'm not going to worry about greasing it beforehand, because they're going to be frozen solid and they're going to be very pretty. And I was hoping to have some of these done and in the freezer before we got together this morning, but I didn't get that done. And the upside of that is it means that I don't have quite as many to munch on when I'm looking for a Christmas treat. And these are something you can put them in an insulated bag with an ice pack and take them with you wherever you want to go. Now keep in mind, if I was making this to take to an event, I would add more powdered erythritol to it and make it a little bit sweeter, because when you are keto and have been for a while, your taste changes and things feel sweeter, taste sweeter in your mouth than they used to. So you want to keep that in mind if you're making this for other people. Okay. And really watch if you're using any other fat bomb recipe, watch those ingredients. The fact that something says it's keto does not mean that it is. You know, I have seen so many things in stores that say keto friendly or, you know, keto on the front of it. And you look in the ingredients and in those ingredients, there's organic cane sugar. I don't care whether it's organic or not. If it's cane sugar, it is definitely not ketogenic. So there's that. Okay, now you want to make sure that you get these filled right full. Otherwise, when you pop them out of here. Okay, so remember I said we're going to put it on the scale and see how much one of these weighs when it's full. And then I got talking and I didn't pay attention. So let's let's measure the next one, and we're going to zero that scale. And we're going to fill up that pocket. And that is about 4 grams. And we're going to fill up this pocket and see if it's the same. If you do a couple, you might have an airspace in the bottom of one of them. So if you do a couple or 3, now I had 6 done and I was at 29 grams. So that suggests that they're 4 to 5 grams each. Okay. And we are at 9 grams. So 4.5 grams per fat bomb in this one. So do the math with whatever molds you're using. Now the other option is, and remember this has cream cheese and butter in it. So just let me grab one of these. You don't want your hands to be overly warm if you're doing this, or you're going to melt these fat bombs. But you can definitely, I guess you can do it with bare hands too, but if we just set a little ball of this on here, if you don't have, okay, we're just gonna, now that one all by itself is 9 grams. So if you're making little balls about the size of a marble, and you can roll this in powdered erythritol or in cocoa powder. I think powdered erythritol would be much better. Do not roll it in raw gingerbread spice. Although, if you were to mix a little bit of gingerbread spice with some powdered erythritol, that would be a wonderful way to decorate these beautiful little fat bombs. Let's see how big that one is. That one, 7 grams. So anywhere from 5 to 9 grams. So you just have to make sure that they're all going to be the same. There we go. Actually works better with your fingers. And when these come out of the mold, I can still decorate them with a little bit of powdered erythritol, or if you want it Christmas sparkly, you can use a little bit of allulose or granular erythritol. Now the granular erythritol, remember, it's going to give you a different kind of mouth feel. So you want to keep that in mind. That's not something that I would recommend, but that's me. Your kitchen, your rules. Okay, so this just works just as well. And there's going to be approximately 5 grams in each one of these. So I don't know how many this is going to make. Okay, we are just about there. Just about have this one done. A little bit more. And then, oh, how cute would it be to make little snowmen? I think that would be adorable. Now I'm going to have to go and get some of my other molds out. Fat bombs are not something that we do very often, and the reason that we don't do them is because unless I really like the flavor, I don't make them. So if I really like the flavor, I'm far too likely to be eating more of them than I should. So the less you have around, and you can see I'm going to be wasting these. I'll lick my fingers? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I've got a lot more of these to do, but we are at the bottom of the hour, and I am so grateful that you joined me here today. Whether you are on your keto journey, thinking about being on your keto journey, remember that in your life you make the rules. And you know, I have said this before, and I will say it again. I have people walk by me knowing, because I've been keto for over 5 years, 5.5 years now, and I will have people walk by me and they'll look at what they're eating, and they will look at me and look back at what they're eating and look at me and say, I know it's not keto. I'm not the keto police. But just because something is keto friendly doesn't mean that it isn't good for everybody. So, you do you. And please, especially at this time of year, do your very best to live your best version of this shining life. Reach out to many people. There are so many people in this world that are lonely during the holidays, and they're struggling with whatever it is they're struggling with, and they need you to be that little ray of Christmas sunshine. So make sure that you reach out, and it will do so much just to make your Christmas season better. So thank you very much for joining me. Click the bell, click the thumbs up, click all of the things, and do all the stuff so that we can hang out here every week at 10 o'clock Mountain-ish. I look forward to seeing you. So thank you for being here. Go make some fat bombs. Allow yourself a treat at Christmas time. But remember what you're making before you make it so that you're not overindulging. So I will see you next Sunday morning. If you have suggestions or questions about something that we might be able to make on our Sunday morning get-together, send me a note. Let me know. Put it in the comments. I look forward to seeing you.